Now we know that this fictitious property is in Maine Land Use Planning Commission jurisdiction. That means we need to access the data for the Maine Land Use Planning Commission zones, which are available on the Maine GeoLibrary. So search for the Maine GeoLibrary Data Catalog, maine.gov, MEGIS Catalog, click once, briefly flashes the old system and takes you to the new. These are all publicly available datasets. I'm going to do a Control F search for Land Use Planning Commission zones, and that's the shapefile download here, the screen icon. Click once. First we get the spinning blue wheel, and then we get the download here, also accessible in the downloads folder if you don't see it there. Click once and we have a compressed or zipped file, which we can't use directly until we extract all. Select a folder. I'm putting in my GIS Week 6, FOR 242 datasets. Hit select folder and that will extract that. Once we hit extract, I've already got this, so I'm going to hit cancel. Back in QGIS, I'm looking at Maine Land Use Planning Commission zones.shp. If I don't see that, I can hit this refresh button here in the browser. But since I do, double click and in it comes. The first thing I'm going to do is change this to a transparent background so I can see through it. So double click on the color swatch here. Click once on Simple Fill, which allows us to set the fill style to no brush. And I'm going to change that to an obnoxious color of green. And make the line a touch thicker, apply, and there it is. So all of these are the Maine Land Use Planning Commission zones. If we scroll in here, we can see I think we might have an issue with this one where the tip of this appears to correspond to the tip of that. And I think it's just been shifted in the process of digitizing. Let's take a look at what this really is. So click on that so it's selected, highlighted in blue, and use your Identify Features tool here to click on it. And here we see this is a P-WL3 forested wetland. If we search for the forestry rules of Maine, we have digital copy here from the state, and that takes us to the PDF. The PDF is searchable, so Control F and type in P-WL, and we see we have 6 entries for P-WL. We have P-WL3, but we are going to search for P-WL because we want to see all iterations. Some of these apply to all P-WL types. Starting with the brief overview, permit requirements, P-WL, harvesting and skid trail crossings, S27, Chapter 27 standards apply. Roads and crossings, P, permit in some cases. Gravel pits, subject to Chapter 27 standards. Using our down arrow to go to the next, timber harvesting in a P-WL. Timber harvesting is allowed within all P-WL subdistricts, but sedimentation of surface waters must be avoided. So the regulation for this feature is that you may harvest timber, but you may not add sediment to the surface water. That's a good idea in any case. So what we're doing with this is off by over 100 meters. It seems to have shifted. That's fine. It's identified the feature. And within this feature, whether it's here or here, you may harvest, but do not add sediment. So there's no serious effect or question as to what to do here. Back to our guidance, we have another entry in the same spot, and then standards that apply in P-WL and several other subdistricts: construction and maintenance of roads, water crossings, land management roads, road discontinuance requirements, and trail crossings. After that, we have something for P-WL1, which we are not looking at the moment, but there's standards for gravel extraction. And finally, that's what P-WL stands for, protection wetlands. Now let's zoom in on the river here and see what's going on. Identify features here. There we go. And see how we have several different object IDs identified here with one click. Under this one, we have a P-FW, fish and wildlife. We have a P-RR, recreation. And then we have a P-SL1, shoreland, 250 feet. Let's look into our P-SL1. That's search P-SL first, and we see we have 8. If we add the 1, there's 3 of them. Let's look at the P-SL1 specific first. You can see Chapter 27 standards apply. There's a M for Maine Forest Service permit for road crossings, and permits may apply for gravel pits. And then we have timber harvesting regulations: no clear cutting within 50 feet, from 50 to 250 feet, no single openings greater than 14,000 square feet, Openings greater than 10,000 square feet must be 100 feet or more apart. Harvesting cannot remove more than 40% of the volume in any 10-year period of trees greater than 6 inches dBH, and no accumulation of slash within 50 feet of the normal high water mark. Let's drop the 1 back off there, search for that. So there's 2 entries for there. Timber harvesting, we've seen that. Crossing PSL2s. And one other thing here, notice this, PSL-1. This is the only place that this actually appears in the document. I think it's just a typo. So that's a P-SL1. That's what it means. So it says PSL-1. I believe it means P-SL1, just like the others. Moving on through there, PSL1, P-SL, standards that apply in PWL, PSL, and several others. That's what we're looking at before, the construction and maintenance of roads, etc. Likewise with the definition here. So we also had a P-RR. Let's see what the regulations state for that. Permits may be required across the board. Looking through here, permits. A permit is required for Maine Forest Service for timber harvesting in any of those. In many cases, a permit is required to harvest timber in P-RR subdistricts, so have a conversation with your district ranger on that. Find out what you need to do, if anything. Keep on scrolling through. A permit from Maine Forest Service may be required for road work in those subdistricts. What else? In some cases, for gravel extraction. And let's see, in addition to previous restriction, gravel extraction. There's a logic to that, of course. People who are recreating on the water don't want to see the gravel pit from the water, but gravel is often found right next to streams because there's where a stream is now, there may have been a glacial stream before and made substantial deposits of sand and gravel. So saying avoid when possible and not to exceed 2 acres in size. What's our last entry is the definition here. Last one was P-FW. FW, there we go. FFM, so F is consult with IF&W on both of those, and then M, Maine Forest Service permit. Timber harvesting. Operating in a P-FW requires consultation with IF&W and may require a permit from Maine Forest Service. Refer to the complete chapter 27, which is linked here. Moving forward here, permits and general restrictions, more on the gravel extraction. More there, gravel, and then deer wintering areas. So there's that, and let's see. Brief overview. Following steps must be taken in order to harvest within a P-FW subdistrict. And that's an overview of procedures for working with IF&W and Maine Forest Service on that front. And finally the definition here, protection, fish and wildlife. And say you want to know where all of the P-FW lands are. We can double click here, and that takes us to symbology. And then instead of a single symbol, we can say categorized, where the value is the zone. Then we have to say classify, which makes all of this appear. That allows us to check off anything we don't want, so if there's no check mark there, it won't display. And if we go down to P-FW, where do we lose that? There it is. You can double click on that and say we want to make the fill color solid, and then make that a nice bright orange, why not? And that'll make that stand out. Okay, so that's where all the P-FWs are. If we turn our stands polygon back on, we can move stands polygons above there, and we can see which of our stands intersect or overlap with our P-FW regulatory type. Switching back to our other stands layer here, that's a simpler display, we can go ahead and open up our print layout under Layouts, Stand Type Map. So now we can display all of these zones however we want with different colors. We can turn them on or off and then make maps that display how the property relates to those regulatory zones. And that way you know what regulatory situations pertain to which stands.